Hello and welcome back. I'm bringing you another meal prep video because you guys have been asking for them and really enjoying them, so why not? We've got a 2-hour meal prep for you that is super summery, super barbecue-ish, and just perfect for the season. We've got 4 different components that we'll be whipping up together that'll give you a lot of variety and flexibility to make a whole bunch of different meals and snacks to munch on throughout the week. We'll be tackling some hearty mushroom burgers, a really spicy zesty coleslaw, some tofu and veggie skewers that can be barbecued or air fried, and some really simple crispy air fried potatoes. And as with all of my other meal prep videos, I will be taking you through the whole meal prep step by step in the order in which to prepare everything to help you just be as efficient as possible and maximize your time, because your time is very precious. I even have a helpful, handy-dandy little shopping list for you to take a peek at before you get started, so that you can pause here, take a look at what you already have and what you still need to get to do this meal prep. You're welcome. That's it. Let's get right into this summery, vegan, 2-hour meal prep. Let's marinate these metamorphic morsels of magnificence. But seriously, when marinated right, tofu can be marvelous, darling, marvelous. Juice of 1 lime. Oh, shoot! That was a big mess. 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, or soy sauce alternative if you're gluten-free, like myself. 2 teaspoons of maple syrup for just a little bit of sweetness and, you know, balance. About a teaspoon of garlic powder. I'm kind of just guesstimating here. That looks like a teaspoon. If you're not lazy like me, you could also just use, you know, fresh minced garlic, but I'm lazy. And that was supposed to be half a teaspoon of onion powder, but that was more like a full-on teaspoon. A little bit of salt, a few grinds of black pepper, and about a teaspoon of minced or grated ginger. And give it all a little whiskey. And if you notice it needs more liquid, like I think mine does, it's a little bit too pasty, you can just add a little bit of water. Okay, now we're just gonna take 1 block of extra firm tofu, and we're just going to cut it up into like 16 even blocks, chunks, whatever you wanna call them. Ta-da! And now we're just going to layer in our little chunks or squares of tofu, pretty much as they already were, but just kind of situate them like so. Cover that thing with a lid. And give it a good shake. Let that marinate for like 15-20 minutes, and let's get started on the other stuff. Okay, so now that we have the tofu marinating, we're going to cook some rice to make our mushroom burgers. Now, if you're lucky enough to already have some leftover cooked brown or white sticky rice in your fridge, you can totally skip this step, but if you're me, then you need to make some rice, so let's do it. Okay, so we are using short grain brown rice, kind of like Japanese sushi rice. I guess that's what we're calling it. I think that's what it is. And we're just going to rinse off all the extra starch. And we're just gonna cook it in some hot water or hot veggie broth. I'm just using my favorite Better Than Bouillon veggie stock base. You guys have probably seen me use this a lot in the past. We're just gonna add like a teaspoon-ish to a little jar or a measuring bowl. Measuring cup? Why can't I English? Mixy. About 2-ish cups of water. I realize I only have a 1 cup measure here. I don't know why I chose a 1 cup, but that's just how we're gonna roll today. And we're just going to add our rice. Bring that all up to a boil. And move on with our meal prep. Yay! Gonna make some crispy potatoes. Seriously, these take like 3 seconds to make. Okay, maybe a little more than 3 seconds, but you get the idea. Seriously, if you don't have air fried crispy potatoes on hand at all times, what are you even doing with your life? Do you even know how to meal prep? Like, okay, let's do this. Okay, people, simple sneezings. Simple. It's all about the simple seasonings, people. We're gonna add 1 tablespoon of soy sauce or tamari, just for lots of good flavor, saltiness, savoriness, umami. And oil is optional, but I do find if you add even just the smallest amount of oil, like 1.5 teaspoons or so, it really does help to get the crispiest texture possible with air fried potatoes. So I'm just gonna add like about 1.5 teaspoons-ish of oil. But it's optional. Then we're gonna add about 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. This almost kind of acts as like breadcrumbs in a way, but we're adding lots of delicious B vitamins and flavor and a lot of savoriness, almost sort of cheesy flavor. And then we're gonna add about 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder and 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. I pretty much use garlic and onion powder in like literally everything, in case you haven't noticed. And then about 1/2 teaspoon of Old Bay seasoning. I love Old Bay seasoning. I actually recently only just discovered it, you know, because I'm really late to the game on the whole Old Bay thing. And man, it is so good. So spicy and flavorful and just, ooh, yes. It's a lot of yes. And then you're just gonna give it a good toss. I probably should have used a bigger bowl because I'm about to make a really big mess. Or you can just use your hands and really get in there. And now all you have to do is pop those in the air fryer. Woo! Okay, so what I have before me are a few mushrooms. I've got about 1/2 pound of white mushrooms, and I've got about 100 grams of shiitake mushrooms. So first of all, what you want to do is you want to kind of brush off any debris and dirt off your mushrooms, and we're going to saute these down with some minced garlic and onion before we move on to prepping the other ingredients for the burger. So let's cook them up. Okay, so let's just add our chopped mushrooms to a saute pan. I'm just gonna be water sauteing them, but you can use oil if you like. And just kind of cook it over medium heat. We're gonna add some salt and pepper. We'll just cover it with a lid, let the mushrooms kind of sweat it out for about 5 minutes, and then we're gonna add in the garlic and onion. Okay, those are very, very sweaty. Let's add in the garlic and the onion. I don't think I've ever referred to mushrooms as being sweaty, so that's a first. Okay, so once you start to see that most of the moisture has evaporated from the mushrooms and the onions and garlic, and things have softened up quite a bit, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna do one last step of seasoning them. We're gonna add 1 tablespoon of soy sauce or tamari for just extra saltiness and flavor. And then we're gonna add 1 tablespoon of vegan Worcestershire sauce. If you don't have vegan Worcestershire sauce, a really, really delicious substitute for that is balsamic vinegar. It honestly gives it a very similar taste and result. So there you go, you're welcome. Give that a good stir, and we're just going to continue cooking this over medium heat for like maybe 3 minutes until the moisture from those liquid seasonings has also evaporated, and it should be good to go. We can move on to the next step of our burgers. Moving on to the fun stuff. So you're gonna need a food processor because that will make your life a lot easier when making burgers. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna add all your rice in one giant blob into the processor, followed by your cooked mushrooms with the onion and garlic. Ooh, these already smell like so good, so rich and flavorful. Next, you're gonna add 1 cup of cooked lentils. I'm just using some canned black lentils that I recently bought at Walmart. and it happens to just be 1 cup. Then we're gonna take half a cup of chopped walnuts. These are just gonna add like really nice texture, nice chewy, hearty texture, followed by about 1.5 to 2 teaspoons of gochujang, which is like this really nice, spicy, sort of fermented red pepper paste, which is so tasty. If you don't have gochujang, you can use sriracha, that's a-okay. Then for some nice smoky flavor, we're gonna add 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika. If you don't have smoked paprika, but you do have liquid smoke, you can add half a teaspoon of that. Then we're gonna add 1/4 cup of ground flax seeds. These are kind of gonna replace your need for egg, which is a common binding agent when making burgers. So you can just use flaxseed. Then you're gonna wanna add about 1 tablespoon of ketchup. This will add sweetness, this will add a little bit of tang, flavor. And then we're gonna add 1 more tablespoon of soy sauce and 1 more tablespoon of vegan Worcestershire. Again, you can always use balsamic vinegar. Put a lid on it and pulse it up. Okay, once it's like partially pulverized, I guess we could call it, we're gonna add about 3/4 of a cup of breadcrumbs. I'm just using gluten-free breadcrumbs, but if you're not gluten intolerant, you can just use panko breadcrumbs. Then we're going to put the lid on it again and continue pulsing it on high speed until it's a nice meaty texture. Oh my gosh, look at that texture. That is like exactly what you want. It definitely looks very freakishly similar to like, you know, a raw meat ground mixture type situation, but this is all vegan, baby. Look at that. We've got the lentils, the walnuts, the flax seeds, the mushrooms, the onions. It all just contributes to amazing mouthfeel and texture. Okay, let's just give it a little taste. Oh my God. Okay, whoa. Shiitake mushrooms, do not skip the shiitake mushrooms. They add so much flavor. So like umami, so like savory. Oh my gosh, that is good. That is delicious. Okay, now all we have to do is we're going to just take all the contents from the bowl and put it in a fridge, you know, a fridge like this one here. If you have a fridge, you know, put it in a fridge. But for real, you want it to cool down a little bit. You want the mixture to firm up so that it's easier to form into balls, and that'll take about 30 minutes for it to get nice and cool. So what I like to do when I'm making burgers is that if you have a food scale, please use it. It makes life a lot easier. I like to set it to grams, and then I just put a little piece of parchment on there, and then I just weigh out the burgers into like pre-portioned amounts. Like I weighed how much all of the batter was, and I divided it by like 8 because I want 8 patties. So I'm just gonna be basically measuring these out to be about 145 grams each, but they'll obviously be different for you depending on how much your batter weighs. Close enough. Hey, look at that, 146 on the dot. So now I just set those aside and repeat. Ta-da! Okay, so now all we have to do is just take one blob at a time. I like to just kind of roll it up in my hands into a ball type situation. Put it back, repeat. We'll eventually be flattening these out into patties. Who would have thunk? Now we just take another little piece of parchment and flatten it out into a burger patty type situation. You can make it as thin or as thick as you like. Here is an example. Here we go. Not too big, not too small, just perfect. If you like a thinner patty, you can always squish it down to be a little bit thinner. The thicker they are, the longer they do take to cook, but that's a-okay. So pretty much at this point, once you've got them into burger patties, this part of the meal prep is done. You do not have to cook your burgers all right now. You don't have to do them all at once. You can either choose to put a few in the fridge, save them for tomorrow if you want to cook them up for, you know, tomorrow night's dinner. Or if you want, you can just batch freeze all of them. You can stack them one on top of the other because you have the layers of parchment paper to keep them divided. So it makes for really easy stacking, easy freezing. I am so excited to try these cooked. Oh my gosh, I am gonna cook a few of them today, but I am gonna freeze a few of them as well, just to have for later in the week. Also, can we just talk about these crispy potatoes for a moment? Okay, that one wasn't that crispy, but it's so good. Let me find a crispier one. Oh no, I have too many potatoes for my container. Darn. I guess I'm just gonna have to like eat these extra ones. Okay, so now that we have our burger prep out of the way, we can move on to our next super fresh menu item. Sounds like I'm a restaurant. We're gonna make some coleslaw. Not your average coleslaw. We're kind of putting a Mexican-ish spin on a very creamy coleslaw. It's spicy, it's zesty, it's creamy. It's got a lot of good things going on like pickled jalapenos and spices and corn and oh my gosh. It's very good. So I highly recommend before you get started, if you have a food processor, pull it out because it will make the chopping of the cabbage and all the other ingredients just go by so quick, like such a time saver. Now you can technically make this coleslaw with any cabbage you like. You could do red or green. I will be using green because I have a massive green cabbage to get through. I'm actually only gonna be using half of it. What we're gonna do is we're going to start by grating up our cabbage in the food processor. You're gonna wanna use about half your cabbage. That will give you roughly 8 cups of shredded cabbage, which is what we want for this recipe. And then you're just going to move on to the other veggies. We've got some carrot and some red onion. You're gonna do the exact same thing, but I actually do like to use my shredding blade for these two veggies. I just like the texture a little bit more. Now that we finished up with the cabbage, the carrot, the red onion, we can move on to the sauce. We're gonna use the same food processor, same bowl. If you have a spinny blade, the slicing, not the slicing blade, just the regular food processing blade, use that one now. We're gonna make our sauce. So basically we're gonna be adding all the sauce ingredients right into the bowl. So let's start by first adding our silken tofu. A whole block is what you wanna use. And then you can add a couple tablespoons of vegan mayo, some Dijon mustard for a little bit of tang and zippiness. And then you can add a little bit of maple syrup for a little tiny bit of sweetness. If you don't wanna use maple syrup, you could use agave or you could use date syrup. Next, we're gonna add some fajita spice. We're gonna add the juice of about 1.5 to 2 limes. You want about 2-ish tablespoons of lime juice. This is just gonna add really good fresh flavor. It's gonna kind of brighten up the salad. Now you just pretty much give it all a whiz in your food processor until you have a really nice creamy dressing, and it is gonna taste so good. Like, if you weren't making this coleslaw, you could just make this dressing and meal prep that and put it over any salad you want to eat throughout the week, and it is so good. It's like Tex-Mex inspired. It's so flavorful and zesty and now all we have to do is pour over the sauce on top of the veggies, and if you have some corn, throw some corn in there too. Now just give it all a really good toss, and oh my gosh, you guys, like seriously, look at this. Oh, how do I describe what this smells like? It smells like if tacos or fajitas had a baby with coleslaw. That is what this is. It smells so flipping good. The lime juice is very pronounced and very tangy. Let's do an on-screen, let's do an on-camera taste test. It's a little spicy. Woohoo! And now you'll be eating very good coleslaw for the whole week. Like, look how much this makes. Like, that is no joke. That is a lot. Like, this is heavy. There's a lot of stuff here. You're welcome. Okay, people. Time to make some skewers. Okay, so making veggie skewers is super simple. You can use a huge variety of different vegetables, just pretty much whatever you happen to have on hand. I, in this case, will be doing mine with some onion, couple bell peppers, a jalapeno, and of course our tofu that's been marinating. But if you have other veggies like zucchinis, if you have mushrooms, if you have red onion, those are all totally skewerlicious. Yes, that's right. You heard what I said. Anyways, through the magic of video editing, let's get through these veggies. Ta-da! Okay, people, these are gonna be some seriously banging skewers. So we have our beautiful tofu that has been marinating for a little bit. Smells scrumptious. So pretty much, if you've never made a skewer before, well, it's not that difficult. You just take pretty much your veggies and you're going to assemble them in whatever order you please on a stick. And you can add as much or as little as you want, and pretty much just do what feels right. Do a few veggies. Oh, break your jalapeno in pieces. Maybe not. Let's try that again. Here we go. Add a block of tofu, or a cube of tofu, and repeat. So easy. Boom. Skewer. Done. Do those not look totally epic? Yes. Seriously, I'm going to frickin' enjoy these this week. I would say I probably have enough here prepped for like 2 dinners worth, which is not bad, you know. This took me like, what, total prep time of like 10 minutes tops to chop the veggies, get the marinade going for the tofu, and then, you know, assembling the skewers. Like, do this, and then let me know how you like it. You're pretty much totally prepped now. You've got potatoes, you've got burgers, you've got skewers, and you've got delicious coleslaw. I'm gonna be eating like summertime royalty for the next 2 days, and I'm very excited. Well, there you go, folks. 2 hours, 4 recipes, and a whole bunch of meals for you to enjoy throughout the week. You're welcome. If you want to see more meal prep videos, you can check out this playlist right up here, or you can watch my most recent meal prep video right here. That's it, folks. Make sure you like, and subscribe, and I'll see you in another video. Bye-bye.